And your mind just goes there, right? To all these wild, futuristic images. It's a topic that sits right at the intersection of our biggest hopes for medicine and some of our deepest fears about technology. But how much of what we think we know is actually real, and how much is just science fiction? All right, let's get into it and separate the lab facts from the Hollywood lore. I mean, you see an image like this, right? A seemingly endless line of identical people. It feels like something pulled straight from a blockbuster movie. But is that all it is? Pure fiction? Or is this something that could, actually step out of the screen and into our world one day? That is the big question we're digging into here. So to even begin to get to the bottom of this, we've got to be super clear on what we're even talking about. Before we jump into the ethics or the wild possibilities, we need a solid scientific definition. What does the word clone really mean? Okay, so the key phrase here, the one that matters most, is genetically identical. Think of it less like a magic Xerox machine for a whole person and more like a biological photocopy of their most fundamental blueprint, their DNA. It's a genetic twin, not a carbon copy of a soul. And this right here, this is probably the single biggest misconception out there. Cloning, as science actually understands it, can't copy memories. It can't copy a personality or your experiences or what makes you, well, you. All it does is copy the genetic instruction manual. It's the nature, not the nurture. Now, here's something that is absolutely crucial to understand. When you hear scientists and ethicists debating cloning, a lot of the time they're actually talking about two totally different things with two completely different goals. So let's break them down. On one hand, you've got therapeutic cloning. The entire point here is medicine. It's about creating a patient's own stem cells to maybe grow new tissues or organs that their body won't reject. The whole process stops right there, at a tiny cluster of cells in a lab dish. Then, on the other hand, you have reproductive cloning. Now this is the one from the movies. The goal here is to actually implant an embryo to try and create a whole new living being. And let's be really clear, this kind of human cloning has never been done successfully. It's actually banned in most places around the globe. Okay, so let's put the whole sci-fi idea of making copies of people on a shelf for a second. Let's focus on the real promise of therapeutic cloning. Because proponents argue the potential breakthroughs here aren't just small steps, they're absolutely revolutionary. I mean, just picture it. A world where you don't have to wait for an organ transplant because a new kidney could be grown from your very own cells. No more risk of rejection. Or what about treating diseases like Parkinson's by generating fresh brain cells, or reversing diabetes with new pancreatic cells? That's the incredible vision that's driving all this research, a future where we can literally repair our bodies from the inside out. Of course, with that kind of incredible power comes an equally massive ethical debate. For every argument you hear about the amazing potential, there's a really serious, deeply felt concern that maybe, just maybe, we're about to cross a moral line. And critics raise some really crucial points. For a lot of people, there are deep religious and moral objections to this idea of playing God. And then there's the big scientific sticking point. Therapeutic cloning, as it stands, requires creating a human embryo just to destroy it for its stem cells. Beyond that, people worry about unforeseen health problems, and they ask these huge questions about what this all does to our ideas of identity and what it means to be an individual. This whole debate eventually leads us right out of the laboratory and straight into the world of philosophy. It forces all of us to think about some of the most basic questions we have, like, what is identity? What truly makes us who we are? And this is just such a perfect way to put it. Our DNA, our genetic code, that's just the starting point. It's the blueprint for the house, sure, but the final building, that's shaped by our choices, our environment, our relationships, every single one of our experiences. A genetic clone wouldn't be a copy of you, it would be more like your identical twin, just born a lot later. And that really just nails the ultimate question we're left with, doesn't it? As science keeps pushing the limits of what's possible, we have to decide what's meaningful. So yeah, the whole idea of an army of clones, that's still just science fiction. But the very real debate over therapeutic cloning, that is happening right now. And it forces us to decide where we draw the line between healing humanity and maybe redefining it.